Welcome to Battle Breakdown, a brand new series of explanation videos where I take a look and uncover the sheer idiocy displayed in certain battles in pop culture. And we're starting out with a big one. We're starting out with Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, The Battle of Hoth. There's a lot to look at here as a prelude. Massive mistakes being made on both sides. One beyond stupid decision made by a certain fleet admiral. And was this battle really that big of a success for the Empire? Let's find out.
Part 1. Why did we get here?
So, prelude for this. The Rebel Alliance has basically disappeared following the battle against, Yavin 4, the destruction of the first Death Star. The Empire is now actually taking the Rebel Alliance seriously and is actively scouring out to destroy its home base. Now, there's, an issue here. How the Rebel Alliance got away so quickly probably implies that the Empire must have been in disarray post-destruction of the Death Star, that they weren't able to, scramble together and figure out what happened since. Vader isn't really helping because he's more concerned about the fact that the presence he sensed in the starfighter was, his son, or at least he suspects it's his son or possibly his daughter. It's someone that he knows. Why he only sensed that then and didn't sense that while, Luke was on the Death Star with Obi-Wan, I have no idea. Maybe that's the presence he's referring to with a presence I haven't felt since. Maybe he wasn't referring to Obi-Wan, maybe he was referring to Luke. I don't know. But regardless, so the Empire is now dispatching probes across the galaxy. One of the probes makes it to Hoth because I guess you'll find out later there's a planetary shield.
The energy shield can only be opened for a short time.
So maybe the planetary shield was down, or it just doesn't work against something that small. I don't know. But regardless, the probe crash lands on Hoth and starts scanning around the ice. We're going to fast forward a little bit here because there's stuff that's really not important. So then we make it to the start of the battle. Or not really the start of the battle, but the probe starts transmitting its signal over to the Imperial Star Destroyer. And, Han and Chewbacca shoot the thing, which causes it to self-destruct while it's transmitting. Vader does manage to get this signal and thinks that, he's immediate to think the rebels are there.
That's it. The rebels are there.
Which, I guess you could, it's kind of implied he might be using the Force to do that. I love how the Imperial officers are immediately dismissive.
The report is only a fragment from a probe droid in the Hoth system, but it's the best lead we've had.
We have thousands of probe droids searching the galaxy. I want proof, not leads. My lord, there are so many uncharted settlements. It could be smugglers, it could be...
That is the system.
And it's funny that the one that is dismissive is the one that goes on to make this massive mistake later. So, I don't know, maybe the theories about him being a rebel turncoat are not as crack as they seem, because at first, he is here literally telling Vader this.
My lord, there are so many uncharted settlements. It could be smugglers, it could be...
That, seems to really imply that, he doesn't want the Empire to go to Hoth for some reason. Either that, or he is even dumber than I've given him credit for. And he's pretty dumb already. Uzzul is a massive idiot. You're going to learn throughout this entire thing. So right off the bat, Vader makes his first major error here by ordering General Veers to prepare his men for a ground assault.
The Hoth system. General Veers, prepare your men.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Vader, man, you... Okay, a ground assault is cool and all, so we can get the Imperial walkers, but, at this point, you don't know if there's a planetary shield, and the mere fact that the probe droid made it through tells you that there might not be, so you have no reason to really assume that, you need to gather the walkers. So Veers is being dispatched for nothing when you have a massive Star Destroyer that could use orbital bombardment, or heck, you could even use air superiority to overwhelm what's going on. You aren't necessarily really aware at this point. I understand that the Empire doesn't really know if Hoth has any air defenses, so the ion cannon is not really part of the conversation. We'll get to the ion cannon. Oh, we'll get to the ion cannon. The Empire isn't exactly really aware that Hoth doesn't have any anti-starfighter defenses, so what really could be done here is just send in a bunch of TIE fighters, maybe even a single TIE fighter, just to see if the planetary shield is up, or maybe some kind of drone or something. Because the fact that your probe droid made it in unharmed, yet the shield had to be lowered for ships to leave the planet, maybe it's a one-way planetary shield? I don't know, but if that's the case, it still doesn't excuse what Ozzel does later on. So the Rebellion's objectives in this battle is now clear. The Empire knows where they are. They can't continue to use Hoth as a base. They need to leave and get as many people out alive as possible, so, you know, the rebel effort can continue. The Empire's main objective is to destroy the shield generator, which I don't get why that's an issue, because, like, we're gonna get to the whole shield generator thing later. But the rebels' goal is basically to leave Hoth. The Empire knows they're there. They can't continue to be there. That's just not a good idea. They can't continue their operations, but they got to get people off. And, you know, most of their ships are unarmed, and that each ship will have 2 fighters for escorts. And you gotta love the laughable logic here of 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer.
Time. So you'll have to stay very close to your transports.
2 fighters against a Star Destroyer?
Now, granted, this line, said by this guy, would make a lot of sense if it wasn't for the massive idiocy you would see the Empire display shortly after. Part 2. Ozzel's massive screw-up. Alright, so basically, what is it with Imperial generals / admirals and just being really cocky, arrogant, but also incredibly stupid at the same time? Ozzel's mistake here is so bad that Vader literally accuses him of treason and chokes the guy to death. And it's honestly deserved, because this is beyond awful. So basically, Ozzel decides that he is advised off screen to stay far back and launch the landers for the walkers at a distance.
Energy field protecting an area of the 6th planet of the Hoth system. The field is strong enough to deflect any bombardment.
The rebels are alerted to our presence. Admiral Ozzel came out of light speed too close to the system.
He felt surprise was wiser.
He is as clumsy as he is stupid.
This is not what he does. He decides to go, oh, screw it to the man, and jump right next to the planet's stratosphere. This is beyond dumb. He jumps in way too close to the planet here. And, like, this is so close that if you were to probably look up in the sky, you would see the giant space Dorito hanging above everybody. And then meanwhile, on top of that, he sets off the planetary radar as the escorts are leaning. And this guy is so full of himself.
Sir, rebel ships are coming into our sector.
Good. Our first catch of the day.
That he thinks that, oh good, it's our first catch of the day. And I'm just like, so he's so close. You do not know if this planet has air defenses, and you do not know if this planet has anti-orbital defenses. You jumped so close to the shield barrier that you set off the radar, alerting literally everyone there. And if you crash the Star Destroyer into the shield generator, I'd hate to wonder what happens, because you'd be down an entire Star Destroyer. So he jumps in way too close, alerting the entire rebellion to his presence. And lo and behold, 2 shots from an ion cannon that opens up after the shield generator is briefly opened completely take out his Star Destroyer, because he would have never been within range of the ion cannon had he listened to what Vader told him to do this entire time. This is just dumb. 2 shots from an ion cannon and the Star Destroyer is basically useless. One hits the bridge directly, and then the other kind of hits like somewhere off to the side. The engines are basically dead. All it took to do this, by the way, was 2 shots. 2 shots! 2 shots! So after basically 2 shots from an ion cannon just completely disable the Star Destroyer, the escort frigate is able to pass by. That is a CR-90, so it's completely unarmed, and like 2 X-Wings. You managed to let that slip by. And now, you know what's even worse about this? Now Veers has to lead his ground assault with basically no air cover, so you basically kind of screwed over your ground invasion. Like, if your orbital cannons were up and running, at the very least, you would be ready to pound the base into oblivion once the shield generator goes down. But you can't even do that because 2 shots from an ion cannon just took out your Star Destroyer because you were that stupid to jump so close to the planet when you didn't know what defenses were there, if they were operational, and even if the shield generator would have ground your Star Destroyer into oblivion. And you gotta love how the rebellion celebrates when, you know, the first transport is away. You gotta love how they celebrate that during this whole thing when they probably have no idea about the sheer idiocy that just happened. They just think their ion cannon got some miraculous hit. No, Rebels, you need to understand. The Empire handed you that victory on a silver platter. They basically just gave you the W. They didn't even put up a fight for it. Because 2 shots! 2 shots! What's even more dumb about that is that the ion cannon can't exactly, like, you know, aim up into space. So basically, Ozzel was so close to the planet that the Star Destroyer's targeting profile was so huge that its fat bridge caught the shots. And the reason why this is so bad is that, like, Star Destroyers are huge. But if anywhere for the 2 shots to land, they hit very bad places. One hits the bridge very, very close to the commander's cupola. That actually would scare me if I saw that coming towards me. And like, it's clearly not as powerful as like the Malevolence's ion cannon or anything that's on that subjugator class dreadnought. I think that's what it's called, a subjugator. It's not even that level. But the 2 places that the shots hit were pretty bad. One hits directly near the commander's cupola, and then the other one hits, I think, near the engine deck. It's like a bit lower down, but it's still like one of those areas that are part of the superstructure that controls everything. Those 2 shots immediately crippled the entire Star Destroyer because the engine room was hit. I'm pretty sure, like, not the actual engines themselves, but like the computers that control them. That got hit. And then the bridge that I think controls the weapons, that area, I think if I had to look at a cross section of a Star Destroyer, I think that's what that area is. It immediately gets like hit. And so those 2 shots just take the entire Star Destroyer out of action. Unbelievable.
Part 3. The ground assault.
So then now the rebels are scrambling because obviously there was a giant space Dorito in the sky, so they're all getting onto their snow speeders, which I have a massive problem with this. The rebels don't know Veers has landed yet. The sighting of walkers hasn't been reported, so maybe they're just at the ready. But I don't think that's a good idea to just get in snow speeders. Like, say what if a swarm of TIE fighters came flying in for all you knew? You would have just thrown away your air support. Then again, why are you setting up any of this? Maybe to buy time for people to escape? But if that's the case, why on earth are you, like, taking these, like, offensive positions with the snow speeders? If anything, a stronger defense would be better. Because honestly, the walkers are pretty slow to get to the base. It takes them quite a while, and I think this is due to Veers landing them. Veers lands the walkers a bit too far away, and like maybe you could have landed them closer, because like the rebels go on setting up all these, you know, defensive positions, laser turrets, towers, and like trenches, etc. I don't know what good trenches are going to do for you for the walkers. Great, now that I think about it, how did the walkers cross the trenches? You'd think that would trip them. But then again, I'm like, okay, what range does Veers have to be in to destroy the shield generator? Because you see some of the blasts from the walkers, these are like cannons. They can fire pretty far, right? Like, I don't know why you'd waste your time destroying the rebels' defenses, because, like, it doesn't, like, you know, make any sense. This takes so long for Veers to deploy. Like, it genuinely takes so long that I like to imagine Vader is sitting inside of one of these walkers somewhere, just staring at a stopwatch or something. Because this is, like, taking forever for them to get somewhere. And by this point, the rebels are, like, already escaping. The rebels that are on the ground are just buying time for the escorts to escape. Which, I mean, you don't really have to worry about that now because, again, the Star Destroyer is not going to do anything to stop them. But what do I know? So basically, the walkers start appearing. If I were Veers, I would move the walkers a bit closer. That way you can start attacking, you know, before the snow spears have a chance to get to you. Because the rebels are clearly on the defensive here. You are the attacker. And the issue with that is the rebels clearly have the advantage here being in the defensive position. Yes, I'm sorry. In a castle siege, the people inside the castle always have the advantage. That's just the reality of things. So basically, the rebels are like hunkered down in this. They're basically getting their men ready to leave. Veers sends, I think, what looks like maybe 7. There might be 8, because there's like 2 in the very far background are literally just cardboard cutouts, but I think they made at least 4, like...
Actually, you know what? This deserves its own separate category. Part 4. How many of these things are there? Alright, so when Veers starts his landing, you can see in the background, in the snow, what is very clearly 7 silhouettes, which means there's 7 walkers on the ground. That's a pretty sizable invasion force. So then the rebels go and look at the cam. There's only 4 walkers here, which means one of them in the far back either veered off course, went somewhere else, or just disappeared entirely. But then math is just not mathing, because then we cut to the next scene, and now there's 5 again! What?
Alright, so even if you didn't see the silhouettes in the original thing, they have to exist, because the one I labeled as 2 is very clearly this 5th guy that just appears out of nowhere. The other time you see him, he's just in the background when Luke is doing his Jedi thing, and the one Luke attacks is the one on the left here, on 3. So that basically means that that can't be that one. Can't be 1. Because 1, the one I labeled as 1, is way too far away for it to be that one.
1, I'm pretty sure, is this guy that we see right here, because he's like isolated out on his own and there's like nobody really nearby. Oh, it also can't be 4, because 4 makes it all the way to the base and there's still another walker close behind it. 1 doesn't have any real walkers in its vicinity. Now, the walker that Wedge kills is 7, because we never really see it anywhere near anybody else. And I think it's really far away and isolated from the other walkers. We see it go down pretty much on its own, and in the shot, it was pretty far away from everybody else. So 7 is killed by Wedge, 3 is destroyed by Luke. That must mean that 5 is carrying Vader and his invasion force. It disappears or dies off screen. But there is 1 that I can confirm it died off screen. And that is 6. 6 vanishes and is never seen again from the point with Wedge onwards. And I think it was brought down by Rogue 2 based on 1 line that Luke delivers.
Steady, Rogue 2.
Which means 7 and 6 were in close vicinity to one another. Wedge brings down 7, so it's assumed that Rogue 2 brought down 6. And we can know that this happened because 6 vanishes and that Luke is turning in the left direction, which is where 6 would be standing. That also implies that the shot of the snowspeeder flying between the legs is Rogue 2 and not Rogue 3. Now, Luke makes an attempt to attack 5. He dives in towards 5, and we know it's not Veer's walker because Dak gets hit from the rear. So what happened here is, I imagine, as Luke flew past Veer's walker's head turned, to take a sneaky shot at Dak, and then Luke had to fly through the legs of 5 before he could fire the tow cable. That would make the two walkers seen here 7 and 6 respectively, because after swinging through 5's legs, Luke had to pull back around and swing underneath the chin of 5 to wrap back around towards 6 and 7, so that 6 would be on his left. That also means that this shot is Rogue 2 and Rogue 3 flying past 4 to help Luke. That means this shot right here is of 4 and 3 right next to each other. So what that means is this. The speeders start out their attack runs by swinging past 5, which is this walker here. They pull up and go over 5. Luke dives down towards 4 right here before flying over 3. Luke then has to pull back away before making his run on 1, which is the one on the hill right there. And this is why the series is called Popping Culture. You still with me? So for recap, Veer's Walker 4 makes it all the way to the base. 1 is kind of out doing its own thing. We don't know what happens to 2. 6 and 7 are brought down by tow cables and tow hooks. And 3 is brought down by Part 5. Luke Skywalker's Jedi BS.
So basically, all of the snow speeders go flying out the minute the walkers appear. Veers has no air cover in this, by the way. That's the first major mistake here. I can understand why you can't send TIE fighters because, like, the Star Destroyer or whatever, but surely you had the brains to, like, I don't know, maybe deploy some, like, TIE bombers or something to escort, like, clearly you got the walkers down to the surface. You had to use the giant AT lander thing. And if your argument with this is, oh, the starfighters can't pass through the shield generator, how did the landing craft do so? The landing craft are, like, canonically huge. They can hold, like, 2. So, like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If anything, maybe, like, just a single squadron of TIE fighters might make this more doable for the Empire. Because they're kind of on the clock here. Their objective is to basically destroy the Rebel Alliance before it has time to leave. One escort has already fled. So already you failed that primary objective. So you're still going to continue forward and, you know, try to destroy the rest. You're wasting precious time by dealing with all these rebels like surface defenses, and now the snow speeders come up and prove very quickly they are a match for your walkers with their tow cables. So a single squadron of TIE fighters, like just a squadron, would be helpful enough to give you like some air support because you clearly need it. Veers is just being left to struggle here by Ozzel's mistake, and it genuinely makes me feel bad for the guy. I would not want to have to command this assault after the guy that was supposed to land my ship on the ground screwed up so badly that the entire enemy knows I'm here. That's just a lot of pressure to put on me. Also, Rebels, why are you even using the snow speeders in the first place? You have like X-Wings, Y-Wings, like those bombers would be really helpful right about now. Just like fly one of those in, and maybe you like do so under like fighter cover. Now I understand, maybe you want to save the fighters to like escort the escort ships. That I can understand you maybe not using the X-Wings. There's no excuse though for you to not use the bombers. I mean, unless they're like, I don't know, maybe you're like undersupplied or something, but like you still have them by time of Return of the Jedi, so you never clearly like lost them or anything. Just any amount of weaponry. Heck, if you needed to, maybe try aiming the ion cannon towards the ground. That might actually be really helpful. But basically just set up a better defense than whatever the heck it is you're doing now. You like lay down all these like trenches and turrets that clearly do nothing against the AT-ATs, and I don't think they do anything to the AT-STs either. So, yeah, I don't understand what their objective was with this. Because, like, they're clearly not doing a good job. In fact, why bother having that line of defense in the first place? You should really just have the snow speeders. If, like, the minute you see these walkers coming, just tell all those men out on the front line to just pull back and pull away and let the air cover do with stuff. Now, we would say, well, maybe they can give the snow speeders ground cover. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, considering I don't think there's any snow troopers on the ground, or Luke would have encountered them. And you don't see any of them land until they're like in the base, which is actually a smart thing. Because these walkers are basically your infantry. You don't really need like, you know, this is a mechanized attack unit. They're supposed to be landing the troops in the base so that they can go and, you know, capture / kill the Rebel Alliance and its leadership, which again, the Empire completely fails at in this. So essentially, this huge line of trenches and stuff is for nothing, I guess. So then all the snowspeeders come flying over, and you gotta love the fact that like this shot is so misleading because it makes it look like there's several snowspeeders when there's very clearly only 6. Like Rogue Squadron very clearly only has 6 members, which is funny. Luke basically makes the first observation that, like, you know, their armor is too strong for blasters, and then does this wicked stunt where he flies in between a pair of legs, which is actually kind of impressive. He clearly learned from his father. He hasn't learned that spinning is a good trick yet. Maybe he should try that. But it very clearly works because the walkers start going down. 3 of them go down. I don't know why nobody tries to stop Veers, because he's the one that's very clearly closest to the shield generator. So, I don't know. But, because, like, he's one that randomly seems to just make it way closer than the others. Like, just randomly. He's just there near the very end of the thing. So, I don't know. Maybe he's actually walking faster than you would think. The reason why I say this is that the AT-AT's top speed is, I think, like 30 miles per hour or something, which is by no means slow. So he must have landed the ship pretty far away. Now, I don't think they, like, came from the other side of the planet, but, like, you could have, like, I don't know, brought it closer. Now, he goes and, you know, Luke loses his gunner, which, you know, of course, I don't know how that hit him. The rebels are just not having a good time on the ground. They are basically being slaughtered by these tanks, which I don't know why no one has ordered them to, like, just stop. You're clearly not doing anything to them, and I don't think they were doing anything to the ATSTs either. But then again, I don't know how many there are. We really only see
2. We see 2 ATSTs, one walking underneath Veer's walker, and then there's like one that's like a blink and you'll miss it walking past Luke when he's laying on the ground.
And it's like not even really doing anything. I think it might have been going in to like scout or something. So basically, I don't know if the ATST is actually doing anything. It kind of just appears to be moving in to like maybe scout out the situation. It's definitely not landing troops because it has a very low carrying capacity. Then again, when Vader goes to storm the base, which we'll talk about because, like, you know, you see what happens.
So basically 2 of the AT-ATs get brought down by the grappling hooks and tow cables. Or no, the harpoons and tow cables. And then 1 gets brought down by Luke Skywalker, his lightsaber, a bomb, and a dream. What happened here?
I don't know what happened. I don't know how the entire thing just blew up. It's like, maybe it ignited the engine deck, or like, I would say the ammunition storage, but this is Star Wars, so I don't think there'd be any, like, you know, ammunition. So, like,
heck yeah, plot convenience.
Did any of the snowtroopers inside just see a blinking explosive get thrown up in it? Or, like, is this just the engine bay that he threw the bomb up into? Whatever it is, it was bad enough to cause, like, a really weird explosion where the head and cockpit blew up, but not the belly that the bomb was tossed into. And then, like, everything just stopped functioning and it, like, just stiffly fell over and collapsed. I have no idea what Luke did here. I can't describe it as anything other than just Jedi BS. It just, like, I don't know why. It's just weird.
You also gotta love that this walker in the background just is like so embarrassed by this whole situation that he basically had to look away and stop moving. Part 6. Holy Mos Eisley, he's right there! So the rebels, basically neglecting to do anything about General Veers at this point, just let him get all the way towards the base, and he's just laying havoc on these trench lines. Leia's like really hesitant to leave for some reason. Like, she tells, like, them to send all the troops to protect the fighters and, like, tells this other guy to stay behind. Leia, is there a monitor? Like, look at the monitor. Is there a window? Drop your mushy romance drama with Han and look out the window. He's right there. Side note, I just feel bad for C-3PO not being able to really run, man. Like, if this is really so important, just have your mushy romance drama later and... Oh no! How did K-3PO die? What happened? I think my theory of Walker 5 being Vader and his landing force is pretty much confirmed by this point, because somehow Imperial troops already arrive at the base.
Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered.
So, unlike a lot of the other AT-ATs that, like, one that seemed to disappear, 5 maintains its consistent journey this entire time. It is next to Veer's Walker through the entire time. From landing, and it maintains this formation next to Veer's Walker in every single shot it's in. So, once it gets to the base, it's suddenly not next to Veer's Walker anymore. And I think it's because it veered off course to let down either Vader, his men, or both. So in chronological order, here are the fates of pretty much every single walker. 4, 5, and 3 start out headlining this invasion. They are the spearhead. 4 is Veer's walker, 5 is Vader and his men's walker, and 3 is just another walker positioned over here, but we can assume it's another invasion force. Now, there's a reason why I say that 5 likely has Vader aboard, and that is because it is the most protected walker in this entire formation. If we look really closely, 5 is protected by the front by Veer's walker from the front. The back right-hand side is being shielded by 6. 7 is clearly over to the right somewhere, shielding its right side. And 2 is positioned in a way where it can fire from the left towards anything flying towards 5. Now, 4 is not only the spearhead, but is the primary protection for 5, so it's receiving cover from 3, and then 1 is over out here doing its own thing, possibly to be a diversion. Because with the way we see 1 positioned, it's on a hill, and it's likely doing so to make itself harder to be attacked. It's likely trying to split the rebels' defenses against it so that the formation has a better time getting through. It's strengthened. Now, despite being further away, it is still very much within position of creating a firing arc in the direction of 3 to cover it, meaning that 3 is very much likely another invasion force because it needed to be protected for some reason. This is also backed up by the fact that when it positions itself on the hill right here, it is aiming its guns up, meaning that it is providing anti-starfighter cover and is attacking the snow speeders. Meaning it's shielding 3 from this, who is in turn shielding 4, which also creates a stronger barrier around Veer's walker. Now, unfortunately, we can also imply here that 1 meets its end off screen. Let me explain. This shot is very clearly of 3 in the front right here and 1 back there. Now, 1 is not really trying to crest the hill, it's trying to stay behind it for cover. Now, 1 is this walker right here, because it's completely out on its own, and you can see the landscaping nearby it that 3 is near, but it's very clearly further away. So what's happened here is 1 decided to crest the hill, and that put it within range of the rebels' defenses. And you can see it being basically pummeled by these base defenses. Now, what really does this in for me is you see a snow speeder swing over 3 and turn to head in the direction of 1. You can also see that 3 has turned its head in the direction of where 1 would be standing, as if firing at the base defenses because 1 is getting pummeled and needs support. This is also supported by the fact that 3 is firing at the snow speeder here, and also its main guns are firing in the direction of the base defenses. This is backed up because 1 is not in a good position here. who, as we've seen, is too far away at this point to do anything to help it, other than to support its flank, which is likely how this snow speeder in the back got shot down. But one's left-hand side, near the front, is completely exposed, and that's where a lot of these attacks from the base defenses come flying in from, because there's a scene where it is getting relentlessly pummeled by the base defenses, and when Veers is making its move on later on, one is nowhere to be seen, and it would be somewhere in the distance. And also, no cover fire comes from the side to support 3. That also implies that this shot of the snowspeeder flying over 3's back means it looped around under 2. 2 shot it down as it was making its attack run towards 1. 1 is being relentlessly pummeled by the base defenses, and this snowspeeder you see flying out comes out to finish the job. Now, 1 may destroy 1 or several of the base defenses. In fact, it destroys several. But the base defenses are shooting at 1's knees. The big turrets, the cannons in particular, are aiming for very vulnerable parts of the walker, and even as it's getting shot there, you can see its legs start to splay out and move in directions they're not supposed to. You could even go as far as to say that this ATST coming in from under Veer's walker, heading towards the left, is going in to help 1 deal with the base defenses. And we know this because 2 and 6 are the walkers that are deploying the ATSTs, because the ATSTs come in from further back and are likely there to support the walker's legs. They're being brought up from the rear so that they can be set down to go in and finish off after the walkers punch a hole. Now, we never see 1 again after this moment. And we also notice that 3 has turned its head completely away from that direction and has given up maintaining that crossfire, meaning that 1 probably fell off screen, bringing the rebels' total kill count on the walkers to 4. 6 and 7 are taken out by the tow cables and tow hooks. 3 is down by Luke Skywalker's Jedi nonsense, and 1 meets its end by the base defenses. We can also infer that the ATST sent in to back them up meant its end as well, because it's never seen again. This tells us that the biggest issue with Veer's invasion is that his left side of his formation is very weak and was not able to penetrate the rebels' defenses, because yet another ATST gets sent in, and you don't see this one ever get anywhere either, so it likely died trying as well. This means the rebels actually had a shot at winning here, because when Luke destroys 3, Veer's left flank is entirely exposed and completely decimated, but by that point, he is already too close to the shield generator, because his formation with 6, 7, 5, 2, and himself was way too strong to really be broken. His right-hand side was a very efficient flank. It was very efficiently defended. Left, however, he left undergunned, probably to focus his priority on protecting Vader and his men. And now for the moment you have all been waiting for. Part 7. Veers is a menace to society. So the rules for covering this are as follows. Every snowspeeder killed will count as 2 rebels killed, because there's usually 2 pilots in the snowspeeder. On-screen deaths will be counted, and off-screen implied deaths will also be so. Downed walkers will count as a downed walker plus half of the capacity of a full walker, unless explicitly part of the invasion force. If a vehicle is featured on screen and then is never seen again afterwards, then more than likely that vehicle bit the dust. The Star Destroyer from the very beginning will count as a casualty, though it's not dead, it is basically a loss because that Star Destroyer is unable to be used in battle. Downed ATSTs will count as an ATST plus 2 Imperial troopers, because though they have a capacity of 4, generally there's only a pilot and a gunner. Rebel base defenses will usually count as 1 rebel, the exception being the towering turrets and the dish cannons. The dish cannons I will count as 2 rebels. At the very least, there should be 2 rebels manning one of those. And the tower turrets, I'll count as 3, because it seems like there would be 3 rebels manning one of them. You would need a guy to sight, a guy to fire, and just one other rebel just to make sure everything runs along well. Named character deaths will be counted along with droids, because the droid was basically taken out of action. Finally, strategic pieces of infrastructure will also be counted as casualties, because they are no longer able to be used. Let's begin. So, Veer's objective is to land 8 walkers on Hoth, get Vader to the base, and destroy the shield generator to wipe out the Rebel Alliance. The walkers open up fire first with a near miss with the rebels back there. They start firing in different directions. One shot nearly hits these people in the back, but it misses and hits the front. This guy in the snow over here gets hit by a shot that appears to travel through the snow, and he is most likely dead. It doesn't look like he got to cover soon enough, and that's laser flew over the snow. So the speeders come in, and then one shot completely misses them, and then they start flying overhead, and then their attack runs on the walkers start. Veers keeps up his flank with 5 and 3 to try to keep everything in position. Luke then orders attack pattern Delta. Veers approaches at this formation. The speeders start their attack runs on 5, going over 5, diving under 4's legs, and then over 3, pulling off just before attacking 1. 1 moves in as a diversion and positions itself on the hill to try to draw the base defense's fire, while also attempting to provide anti-starfighter cover. Veers gets a shot off of 1 snow speeder, while 3, 5, and 1 pummel base defenses. And most of them are fine, but then this shot, these 3 people are completely motionless and are probably props, and I think what George's intention with that blast hitting right nearby is him trying to tell us that all 3 of these people are dead. We also see a snow speeder dive towards 1's legs, showing us that 1's already in trouble. Luke then makes an attack run towards Veer's walker before making the observation that their armor is too strong for blasters. Luke is then forced to loop around 3 to head back in and loop back around to head in back towards the front. Luke loops in to make another run back towards the front, but that puts him back within the range of the crossfire arc between 5 and 4, and that means his wing buddy gets shot down. Now, Luke heads in, and then Veers turns his head to take a shot at Dak and kill Dak Rattler. Luke is then forced to fly between the legs of 5 and ditch his attack run. 7 and 6 now launch their assault to soften up the right-hand side flank of the base so that Veers can get through to the shield generator. The rebels, oddly enough, managed to hold out a lot of this. 1 snow speeder is shot down by 6. Veers narrowly misses another snow speeder here, and then 3 just completely obliterates this dish cannon. Luke then calls for Rogue 3 to set his harpoon, follow him on the next pass, and along with Rogue 2, make an attack run on 6 and 7 in an attempt to open up a flank onto Veer's right side. Now, I'm going to assume that this shot here was directed at an ATST, and the reason why I say that is because it wasn't firing at the legs, because clearly there's no legs visible. 7 is not in this direction. He's firing in the direction of 6, but he's aiming down, and if 6 was there, you would see 6's legs like we see with Luke. So what's going on here is, I think Jensen was firing in the direction of an ATST that 6 likely deployed on the ground, and since we never see this ATST again, it more than likely bit the dust. It wouldn't be snowtroopers because the Empire doesn't deploy any infantry in this battle. So then Luke is telling Rogue 2 to be steady, which likely implies that Rogue 2 brings down 6 off screen, and then Wedge very shortly after wraps the tow cable around 7 and also brings it down. 7 then falls over and is destroyed by an overhead snow speeder before anybody on board even has the capability of getting out. Now, with the right flank somewhat weakened, the base people can now focus their attack on the left, and things get really hard for 1 here. 1 now attempts to crest over the hill to step forward to create a better flank, because now that 7 and 6 have gone down, its attempts at doing a diversionary tactic just flat out won't work. It's forced to compensate by stepping forward to create an even bigger crossfire arc, because now it has to do that because 7 and 6 won't supply any more cover to Veers or 5 anymore. Upon encountering much stiffer resistance than it had expected, 1 radios 3 for backup, so 3 turns its head to help deal with the base defenses that 1 is struggling with, and also makes an attempt to supply anti-starfighter cover for 1 when it is really struggling right now. 1 snow speeder makes it through, so it's going to try to loop around and start its attack run on 1. The rebels incur more casualties, including these 2 guys, a turret that must have been destroyed off screen, another heavy gunner near this dish gets killed by assumedly shrapnel, and this other heavy gunner just goes completely flying after this explosion hit. 1 is now starting to take a hammering and is receiving several heavy hits in its legs that start to make its legs go janky in some areas. You can see one in the back. The walker is taking a beating, so it tries to retaliate against the base defenses, destroying a turret, several rebels, and this dish cannon. We also see another turret that was destroyed off screen as a snow speeder is flying in to start its attack run. The snow speeder that flew around from earlier is shot by 2 in the back. Another ATST is deployed that goes in to try to assist the bad situation that 1 has found itself in. This ATST and 1 are never seen again from this point onwards, so 1 likely bit the dust from this heavy resistance, and the ATST died trying to support it. Veers is now anxious to get to the shield generator because an important part of his flank is now open. Seeing this openness, Luke tries to go around and make an attack run with 3 alongside Rogue 2. Now, this crossfire, 3 has stepped up a bit to provide a stronger crossfire for 4, and 5 has moved up further ahead. This is creating a problem, and this crossfire catches Rogue 2 and kills him. Luke is then gunned down by a combination of Veers Walker and 3, and Luke crashes into 3's leg. He then narrowly avoids being smooshed and just kind of rolls over into the snow and is kind of like knocked out for a bit.
Rest in peace, K-3PO, you will be missed.
Leia then starts ordering the the troops to protect the fighters, so that the troops start pulling back from the base as 3, 5, and 4 all make their move towards it. We see another destroyed turret, which implies more people died off screen. And now we just see most rebels retreating. 1 guy I think doesn't make it. I think this guy gets shot and dies because he just like never really fully comes out of the trench. There's also a dude just lying down on the ground dead here.
There's like 2 of them. Luke does his Jedi BS thing, and then 3 meets its end, and then the ATST that is likely going forward to also try and break through the base on the left probably also meets its end because we never see it get anywhere.
So now Veers is like right in front of the base because he has managed to get far up enough. He takes a shot at this guy to send him on a wild ride across the snow here, and he just dies from it. Another guy dies on screen, and then like he kills 2 other people. He goes into this cat-like stance and just says, "Screw you" to this 1 snow speeder in particular, and then like he then takes a shot at killing this other guy randomly. This poor dude just didn't deserve what he had coming to him. And then he takes a shot at the shield generator and destroys the shield generator. So the rebels need to leave, and there's a near miss inside this base where like a bunch of rubble falls over and almost kills Leia and Han, but no, they're our main characters, so they're fine. They're completely fine. C-3PO comes hurrying up to like, tell them like, he's very anxious to tell them something, and I feel so bad that he can't run, like at all. And then finally, things open, and Vader and his assault force come storming in. And my gosh, things have been destroyed here. But I'd like to imagine everybody made it out, because we don't see any dead bodies. So now they're running through different halls. C-3PO almost gets locked out and pulled back in. Chewie is like really anxious to get them all into the Falcon. And then Vader takes his sweet time trying to arrive during all this. Vader takes quite a minute for him to make his appearance. But then he's coming in now. Again, no dead bodies seen here. This is when things become nightmarish for me to try to count. So after, a bunch of issues with the Falcon, because, you know, it's the Millennium Falcon. The snowtroopers just start like coming in and like start shooting at the ship instead of trying to like storm it. I guess I don't know what they're doing here, but then they run in and then they're trying to set up an E-Web blaster turret. The Millennium Falcon's gun comes down, kills this guy, and then like Han and Leia have more arguing going on because, you know, of course. So they're trying to set up the E-Web turret. This guy is running in the background. I don't know what he's trying to do. So then this guy gets killed. This guy is like moments away from death, and I don't think he's going to survive this. Two guys in the far back die, and I like to imagine that this guy in the front just screwed up assembling the E-Web turret, and everybody died because of it. Like, because the blast that you see coming in doesn't hit the actual turret. It just hits like the joint where it articulates. So like that would have caused the whole thing to self-destruct. But then again, this box was like sparking the entire time. So I just think this guy just screwed up and assembled something wrong. Whatever he did, his poor gunner gets atomized because of it. And Vader has arrived, but it is too late. The rebellion has escaped and fled. So for our kill total, the rebellion lost 7 snow speeders, 39 rebels, 2 dish cannons, 5 tower turrets, 12 pilots, Dak Rattler, K-3PO, 1 shield generator, and Echo Base. The Empire lost 1 Star Destroyer, though it was only disabled, 1 Viper probe droid, 4 AT-ATs, the ones being 6, 7, 1, and 3, 3 AT-STs, 260 snowtroopers, Admiral Ozzel, though he was executed for treason, 14 pilots, and 1 E-Web blaster turret. And that is our total kill count for the Battle of Hoth. Part 8. Conclusion. So in conclusion, Vader then raids the base, and then like a bunch of snowtroopers set up this gun, and then they all get destroyed rather hilariously. So by this point, all the rebels have pretty much already escaped. Was this battle a victory for the Empire? No. Vader's fleet takes its sweet time trying to get here, and I gotta wonder what holds it up. But what essentially happened here is that the Empire failed their primary objective. The rebels escaped. They did destroy the shield generator, and they did make it to Echo Base. And they took out quite a few rebels and quite a few snowspeeders and incurred high casualties at the same time. But with the loss of basically 4 of their really large walker force, they basically sustained a lot of casualties. And what do they have to gain? They really kind of failed to destroy the rebels. They failed to destroy the Alliance. And I can really say that all this comes down to Ozzel's giant screw-up at the beginning here. This literally set the tone for the entirety of this assault going forward. And what happened is, the minute the rebels knew what was going on, they set up all these defenses. If they hadn't done that, Walker 1 would have never have gone down. 7 and 6 never would have really encountered the amount of snowspeeder resistance that they did, and the Walker fleet would have reached Echo Base much faster without having to actually attack. Ozzel came out of Lightspeed too close to the system. Honestly, Vader was in the right to kill him. But that, my friends, is popping culture, and this has been the Battle of Hoth. In conclusion, this battle, while seemingly a victory for the Empire on the outside, they failed every objective, and the Rebel Alliance lived to fight another day. See you guys next time, and if you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe. Join the Discord in the description below. We have like an entire sub channel back there for pretty much every fandom. We have a big channel for Star Wars. You can collect Star Wars characters on cards via like a Star Wars deck bot. It's really cool. We have like a Star Wars bot that can generate like random prequel quotes and original trilogy memes. It's a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun if you like Star Wars. And so if you like this type of content, be sure to
like, subscribe, turn on the notification icon. I've noticed that only like a small portion of people that watch my videos are actually subscribers. So, you know, be sure to subscribe. All it takes is just pressing a button, and it really helps me fight back against the algorithm, because let's face it, YouTube's algorithm is just not the best. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time on Popping Culture.